So that's the real there.
Alrighty, let's call this meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I see we have a couple of guests here. For that, I don't know, Mark, for the park superintendent,
Yes, Mark Moffitt, how y'all doing?
and Alex, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Alex Formikas, I'm with the Public Works Department.
All right. So the first agenda item, let me just kind of get organized here, is consider approving the minutes for the February meeting. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, Jan, have a second? Second. Okay, cool. Adrian, okay, any discussion? Corrections or additions that we need to? All righty, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good, carries. So the next thing on our agenda, C2, is to consider the election of a vice chair of the Parks and Recreation Board and take the appropriate action. So typically what the duties of the vice president is to stand in if I can't attend the meeting. And then I guess they got it down to just once a year now is to do a presentation to the city council, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation of, what we've done. Used to be over the last 6 months, but I guess now they're just going to do it for the whole year. Yeah, and it's really a lot of fun. So I think we should do this by secret ballot, and I've got some ballots for us.
You already.
Well, I'm a quick learner. I think I messed it up last time. So do we have any nominations? Open the floor for nominations.
I'll volunteer.
Okay,
I don't know if that's nomination, but I'll volunteer. You need to volunteer.
okay. Well, I mean, you can, that's
Unless
fine.
somebody else wants to do it, whatever the process is.
Yeah. So do I hear any other nominations? So do I hear a motion that we elect David by acclamation?
Oh,
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, carries. So if you don't, acclamation just means we had no other nominees, okay? And all righty, so moving on to C3 is receive an update on the active transportation plan from the Public Works Department.
Right. Share this real quick on the screen. All right, as I mentioned, my name is Alex Formikas. I'm the Sustainability Manager for the city in the Public Works Department. Our group is working as an update to the Trail Master Plan that was passed in 2015 to look at active transportation, walking and cycling throughout the city. I believe this board was a big portion of that public input back when they did the Trail Master Plan. So we've been going to different boards and commissions. We were at Planning and Zoning last week. I'm the staff liaison for the Sustainability Committee, so we presented there, and then we'll be just kind of presenting here today to just give you some insight on what we're working on. So we're going to take it really high level, kind of looking at the goals of transportation. We want people to get where they're going. Everyone wants less traffic, and we need to have less pollution. We're in non-attainment for ground level ozone here, so we kind of are in violation of the Clean Air Act. With that, so we're trying to look at these three kind of main goals. Feel like most people can be on board with that. Yeah, we just have the one screen over there.
Sorry, could you say, you just said something about the ozone? Could you say that again?
So we're in non-attainment for ground level ozone, and I think you on the bottom right there, you guys have probably all seen those billboards on the highway where it says air pollution watch. We see that a lot in the summer. So our region, the 10 county area around Dallas-Fort Worth, often exceeds those limits. So that's why we kind of want to look at different ways to reduce pollution. Kind of one of the things I work on in sustainability, and one of the biggest sources of that is vehicles. So kind of in our current system here, We can get where we're going in vehicles. Our cities are really designed for the use of vehicles. Traffic's not great. Pollution, like I said, we're having some issues with. One of the things that people say to me is like, oh, that's fine. We're all going to just switch to electric vehicles. You know, that does help on the pollution side, but that doesn't do anything for traffic. It's still the same cars on the road. What about public transit? Yeah, public transit's great. You can get where you're going. Little asterisk there. There's sometimes the issue of convenience, an issue of time. For me to take the train to the office adds about 10, 15 minutes to my commute. Doesn't work for everyone. It does help with traffic, helps with pollution. But yeah, there's an issue of convenience, issue of time as we're looking at those transportation goals. And then the last one here, more walking and cycling. Yes, you can get where you're going within a small radius. So that's the asterisk on that one, but that helps alleviate traffic, helps alleviate some of our pollution. So that real high level, kind of switching to an overview here, we really need to look at all forms of transportation to kind of achieve those three goals that I've mentioned. Just to acknowledge, most of our investment has focused on vehicles here. There are places where we, maybe are lacking some bicycling infrastructure, some pedestrian infrastructure, and just also everyone here knows this, but our region is growing like crazy, and that massive regional growth is going to continue to put strain on our transportation systems. So that's why kind of we're looking at this active transportation plan, working on developing that. We're really focusing on mobility outside of the use of vehicles. So we're thinking about pedestrians, we're thinking about cyclists, and this is an update, as I mentioned earlier, to that 2015 Trail Master Plan. So I've got some maps throughout the city. You guys are probably very familiar because a lot of these trails go through parks. So just, this is kind of what we're looking at, but there's not a ton of places that we can put these wide, big trails that are, pedestrian and cyclists only, kind of like Rawhide or something like that. So we need to kind of look a little bit broader. Are there connections that we're missing, maybe sidewalk infrastructure? And that's what we're trying to do, is get a lot of our community input. Are there destinations in the city that you want to be able to go to, but you don't feel safe walking or cycling? So with this new plan, we'll aim to align it with the comprehensive plan that they've just spent a lot of time working on. And the goal is to have a 5-year project list of these improvements for pedestrian and bicycles that has a funding strategy attached to it. So right now, we're in our public engagement. We're trying to hear from them as much of the community as we can. We're utilizing a lot of that input from the comprehensive plan. We'll be launching a community survey next month. Encourage everyone to participate in that and share that within your networks. We will be having a large community event actually in this room on Wednesday, April 17th. That'll be led by our consultants. We'll have plenty of exhibits around, sticky notes, stickers, all of that, so people can kind of put a spot on the map. Here's an issue in my neighborhood that I want you to know about, and we can start to look at that as a future project. And then the last bullet there, input from boards. I've mentioned we've been to a couple other boards. This kind of has some relation to Parks and Recreation. So wanted to kind of bring it here just so you guys are aware of some of the work that we're doing on this project. Things that we're really looking at, proximity to attractions is, can we connect something to a destination where someone can go there without the use of their vehicle? Funding, there needs to be funding available. There's a lot of federal funding, different things coming down, but we want to make sure that there's funding available, it's feasible, and safety is a primary concern. So a lot of people, I guess I'll mention this, the map on the left over there, that has a incidence of pedestrian and bicycle crashes. So where there's been an accident involving one of those forms of transportation, there's a lot of markers on there. And so we want to reduce that. So that's part of the undertaking that we want to go through.
What's the time frame on that?
I actually don't have that with me. That was from the comprehensive plan. I want to say it was 2 years, but I would have to get a clearer answer for you. Apologies for that. What we're trying to get from residents in addition is, what are your goals and priorities? Is it safety that might be keeping you from walking to a destination? Is it just not connected? Are we missing infrastructure? So we'll be asking in our event next month for residents to rank that. That'll also be a portion of the survey. And truthfully, kind of what that is I think these two images kind of do a really good job of what we're trying to achieve. On the left there is Valley View. So it's a 6-lane roadway, and there are sharrows. So the bike can use that whole right lane, but there are cars going 35, 40 miles an hour next to it. Is that something that you would feel safe as a cyclist riding on that? Or would you prefer a protected or separated bike lane? You know, there's cost, there's space availability. There's a lot of issues that come with trying to make one of those decisions or the other, but we're really trying to see from residents what that looks like. You know, I took that photo, it was raining and there's a person riding their bike. They probably weren't doing that just for exercise or recreation. They are, you know, trying to get somewhere, work, school, a job, you know, wherever they're trying to get, and that's their method of transportation. Hopefully they feel safe doing that. And, but that's what we want to hear from residents. If there was a separated bike lane, would you be more likely to do that? Picture on the right is one that we've all kind of seen before. The sidewalk ends, but the trail does not. You know, sometimes there's reasons why infrastructure is missing. A lot of times it's funding. Sometimes there's underground utilities that prevent that. But yes, you know, that's a pretty good clue that people are trying to get somewhere that we haven't provided an infrastructure for, but we don't know this whole entire city. There might be places like that within your neighborhood, a connection to a park. And so that's what we're really trying to understand and learn from our residents. Your lived experience here in Farmers Branch is the most important element to this plan. So I'll wrap up there. I mentioned next steps. We're getting our input from board and commissions members. We'll be launching our community survey next month. And then if you'll mark your calendars for Wednesday, April 17th, in this room at 6 p.m., we'll be doing the community input session, which is a lot larger there. But I'll stop there. If there's any questions for me or discussion within the kind of agenda time, I don't want to take up too much of the meeting here. And I'll also stick around afterward if anyone has questions on some of the maps, so I can talk with people then. So thank you all for having me.
Questions?
Is this coming out of the 15-minute city?
No, that's not been a focus of this. This is more just, we had the trail master plan and identifying, you know, longer trails. But right now, like I said, we don't have much space to put those trails. So we're looking at missing connections essentially and trying to figure out, especially with safety, how people can get around a little bit more efficiently.
So sorry, what is the 15-minute city? What's that?
It's a idea being proposed by urban planners, and it's been embraced by quite a few people that want to create an environment where you could get anywhere you need, basically on most days within 15 minutes from your home.
So this is not a Farmers Branch thing. This is more of a,
This is a national/international concept that is dribbling down, and I actually heard it mentioned in a study session
I think that was a question.
recently, and that's why it tickled my interest that we were then addressing this, because it sort of folds into that. It's a top-down urban planning kind of thing.
Yeah, there would be some overlap, you know, because connectivity aligns with that, but that hasn't been a driving point of why we're working on this.
so another question, when you talk about non-attainment for the ozone level, so that's not a Farmers Branch centric issue. This is,
That's a DFW region.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few kind of regions that are in non-attainment for a certain, you know, there's, I think, 7 pollutants that the Clean Air Act oversees.
okay,
So it's our 10-county regional area. So
Okay.
that's why you see those signs if you're driving in Tarrant County, and it tends to be on the hot summer days. What's leaving the tailpipe on those warmer days creates that ground level ozone. And so that can cause some issues from a public health perspective. You know, if you have a respiratory issue, you might want to kind of like limit your outdoor activity on some of those days.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question on the bike lanes.
Yes.
Several of our community cities seem to be doing a really good job of having the bike lanes in, you know, cycle clubs, cyclist clubs, use them, you know, and have events and different things like that. So what you're saying is we basically, on a lot of our streets where we have the parking lanes, we would have to convert some of those to,
Potentially, yeah. And that's what we would want to hear from like residents is where these infrastructure, you know, improvements would be needed. And then there's always a balance. If, you know, there's out, you know, street parking and it's crowded with vehicles all the time because that neighborhood needs essentially the parking, there might be, you know, potential conflict with those two ideas. So that's where we're trying to get as much community input as possible and kind of understand where are the best places that this infrastructure could fit and where people can use it. And obviously with considerations of trying not to interfere with the regular activities.
right lane in either direction on Valley View are marked as sharrows, which means that a bicycle and an automobile share that lane. And if the bicycle is in that lane, the automobile needs to clear into the center lane to pass.
On Valley View,
On Valley View, if you look down at the road markings, you'll see a marking of a bicycle in the far right lane.
Yeah, there's,
The only person in the room who was on the trails today. And we discussed this a lot.
And that's actually one of the exhibits that we'll have at that public input event is, we have kind of like 6 different types of bike facilities ranging from sharrows to a completely off-street trail, like I guess Rawhide would be, you know, and everything in between. And where do users feel the most comfortable? You know, does that have to be completely separated? If it's just painted different, you know, different things like that, or maybe it's the sharrows and that's the best option. So that's one of the things we're trying to get from our residents.
so I'll give you a personal input. So I've been doing training rides in Farmers Branch for like the last 30 years. And the share ride, we've never really had any issues. I mean, we're talking about 20 or 30 riders.
Mhm.
So that's why I think a separate bike lane up on the sidewalk would be tough for people.
Mhm.
And generally, most cyclists, in fact, I would say 90% of the cyclists that get killed on the streets is because drivers don't estimate, or they don't realize how far their outside mirror hangs out there. And that's usually where they bang the cyclist is we're taking up all the lanes and we're near the white stripes. Sometimes the cars come over.
especially the big pickup trucks.
Yeah. Pickups even. But the other thing is, over the years, we have adapted our training rides to the traffic in the city. I mean, that's what the bike clubs do, and typically we'll hardly ever be on a 2-lane road
Mhm.
unless there's no other options, and as the city grows and stuff, like, for example, we used to do the frontage roads on the tollway. And we finally had to quit doing that because it just got too much traffic, so most clubs are pretty good about adapting to the different traffic areas.
That's good to know.
You rode your bike on the toll road?
We're on the frontage road.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
Oh,
wow.
It's great, it's smooth, I mean,
So you're a brave man.
well, when you're riding in groups, usually when you get whacked, it's because some drunk driver that's coming in the other direction, or people that just don't know what they're doing.
Are people texting while driving, they're not paying attention.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you always go with the flow of traffic. You never go against the flow of traffic, because people don't expect to see you coming head on, but they'll see you. We're used to looking at our windshield for people going in the same directions we are, not against the grain of traffic. Any other questions or inputs or? All right.
Yes. One place I'd say is the walking to and from Firehouse Theater,
Okay.
looking over there, because I've been several times and I've walked there most of the time.
Are
And
you
that's where it gets unsafe.
parking like on the other side of Valley View?
I'm talking about walking there.
Oh, walking there.
Yeah, so I see a lot of people walk even to their cars,
Mhm.
and the sidewalks over there are not all, either they're not all continuous or they're broken.
Okay.
And so that's a place to probably check.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, you know, if there's broken infrastructure too,
Yeah.
you know, where if you're more able-bodied, that might be fine if it's a little bit wobbly, but for someone on crutches or in a wheelchair, it's, you know, maybe not a feasible option too, so.
There's just a lot of
That's a great-
restaurants and then that, and so it's an area that could probably use a look.
Yeah, I think
Appreciate
cracks in the road are probably one of the biggest hazards, especially for cyclists.
Yeah.
Those we usually see. Anybody else? Well, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
When's the event again?
It is Wednesday, April 17th at 6 PM. And it'll be located right here in the Pecan Room. Thank you all.
All right, moving on to C4 is discuss the mailing of the Parks and Recreation Board agenda packet to the board. So,
Board, this is I wanted to bring this forward. Linda's already gone, so. But she is the hardest working person in the room when it comes to putting these packets together, so. It's a big part, and she not only puts this one together, but she does senior advisory board. I think it's just this one, senior advisory. And she mails those as well. So I just wanted to get some input on what we could do, kind of what the options were to and one of the things too, she has to get these out early because so it puts the time to get you material. It pushes that deadline up a little because we gotta get them ready so she can have time to get them in the mail. So my question is if, I think she also gets them to you electronically as well, so.
Yeah, on Friday.
And then they're also posted on the city website as well, because we have to meet those deadlines, the 72-hour requirement for posting. So there's a lot of avenues to get to these, to get to the package electronically. What we could do is, where I worked previously, we would send them electronically, we would post the links on the city website, and then we would also, we could have a paper copy at the meeting itself, but we didn't mail. And so we were, you know, it just had, it's just a lot of staff time and also if we had things we wanted to get to you all, it cuts that time to be able to get it in the packet. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there, seeing what everybody thinks and just kind of getting input. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. As far as mailing, this came on Saturday and the mailman forgot to close the lid on my mailbox. So I have no problem getting the package here at the meeting. It
Okay,
doesn't have to be mailed. And I thought I was organized, but I'm looking at Bob's notebook here and everything. So I would still like to get the hard copy,
okay.
but I don't need to have it in the mail before the meeting. That's just my.
Jan?
Robert, I would
Yes.
prefer to have it, a hard copy ahead of the meeting. Not, doesn't have to be mailed to me. I'll come pick it up. But I make my notes, I write my questions right by the topic we're going to discuss. So I'm not gonna do that on a computer and then try to remember all that, or else I'll end up printing my own copy before the meeting.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's how I use it. is to-
And do the same.
Yes, I'm old school. So if you don't mail it to me, then here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna print it on my printer at home. So I can print it and I can read it, because I don't wanna walk in here and not being prepped. And I'm old school, so I don't like bringing my computer in here. I could theoretically bring my computer and just use that on my computer, but I wanna print it out like you, read it, make notes, ask questions. And so, but I also, I'm serving on a board at our church, and that's how we do it. We send it, and if you want to print it out, that's what I do. I print it out on my home printer. So I can be sold on the idea that we're gonna save money and save Farmers Branch money and save our time. So, but that, just so you know, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
If it's not mailed to me, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print it out at home so I can, because I'm old school, I wanna actually print it out, touch it, read it, feel it, write on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about what I would do. I probably wouldn't print the whole thing. I would probably print the pages that required reading and stuff like. I don't need to read through the minutes. I mean, I can read through them electronically without a problem, but on some of this other stuff, like a report where it's got graphs and everything like that, I would probably print that out so I could actually look at it, just because I don't have a home computer. I'm reading it on my iPhone and that's it.
That's tough.
You know, I have to do the whiten up sometimes to see it.
I think sometimes and I noticed with some previous boards, and not with this board at all, but sometimes people would not even look at this till they got to a meeting. And that's the reasons I zip through the minutes, is I want people to read them ahead of time, so we don't waste time. You know, I don't mind staying here till 9 o'clock, but it's, you know, it's gotta be something that's important and not something that somebody just didn't read their packet.
Right.
So it's kind of a tough thing. I realize how much work Linda does. I don't know how you can cut her time down to doing this, but.
Well, and that's why you know, and I know this is kind of a new thing, and we don't have to make a decision tonight. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there. You guys think about it. I wanted to just kind of let you know. I mean, we'll just keep doing what we're doing and keep the status quo. If you feel like at some point, hey, you know, if we want to bring it back, maybe we want to change direction. I'm just kind of putting it out there. I mean, I'm not as much worried taking it from an environmental standpoint. It was just more of, we've got a deadline that has to move up because of the time frame of making sure the mail gets to you all.
Yeah.
And she's got it timed perfectly.
Yeah,
So she's got it down.
4-inch mail. I don't have it today. Jan didn't have it last time. And that isn't the first time for either one of us.
No,
So I still don't have my packet. So it was like, okay, at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'm like, David, did, and he's like, no.
It ain't coming.
So it's downloaded on my iPad, but again, I can't make notes. I can't, I know what I want to talk to. I wanted to know about, the sustainability stuff, and I have a question on the ice rink later on. I know what I want to know, but if I have my notes, I can make sure I'm covering everything I'm doing.
Okay, okay. Well, I wonder if we need to move the time up to make sure you guys are getting it by May.
Well, you would think
I
usually,
mean, there have been times when, like Barbara, it's never shown up until 2 or 3 days after the meeting. It's been that times when it has arrived at
Monday.
4 o'clock, when I've already printed it and done my thing, because the meeting's at 6:30. I mean, I'm not waiting until then
Sure.
to do it.
Sure.
So you can't control the mail.
Yeah.
And if timing is already an issue, you don't want to try to be mailing it sooner. That only.
Well, yeah, I
takes
don't
away
wanna,
your burden.
yeah, I'd have to look and see when I think she's trying to get it in that week prior or in that time.
she told me
frame.
today that it goes out Thursday.
So it's a week ahead already.
Right,
But if it saves her time to not send it to us until electronically until, I don't know, what, Monday, does that give her?
well, typically, I think she's sending it out by that Friday
Yeah,
electronically.
she is normally now,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if she needs a little more time or it makes it easier on her, even if she was still creating them, if we could pick them up,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Pick them up is not a problem. We can pick them up on Monday or
Well,
Tuesday.
yeah.
Tuesday.
I mean, we can have them printed because they're ready to go. She's printing them. It's just a matter of putting them in the mail.
Right.
If you want to, do you want to do a trial of just electronically and we'll have them printed ready by Monday before the meeting and you guys are welcome to come pick them up? We'll make enough for everybody. And then if you want to pick one up, I'll just let Linda know you can.
Where
I
do
mean,
you pick them up?
at the office at City Hall. We're upstairs in the second floor. They are working on the lobby right now. What we can't even do, so I don't know if a lot of you know, but we're working on the retool in the lobby at City Hall to make it more like a customer service area when you walk in. We can even leave the packets there when that's done with, and let the staff there know, hey, the board's coming to pick these up and put your names on them. We can have them almost like they're mailed. They just won't go in the mail.
Right.
And we'll give it till Monday to have them ready to go. So anytime that week, you can come pick them up. But until then, you have to just come up to our office. So it's up to you guys.
It doesn't take long to park and get up there if you don't go at city council time.
Right.
Whoever does it.
So I likely won't be able to pick them up.
Okay.
But if y'all aren't opposed to it, I'll start bringing my laptop and making my notes virtually, if y'all go that route.
Well, that's your call, so that's not one big deal.
I like hard copy, but I
Like
can do it on
David
the
and I,
computer. I work all day on the
We
computer.
typically print ours at home. Some of us have printers, some of us don't, so maybe that's kind of a temporary alternate solution is people that want to pick them up can, and the rest of us can print them out at home.
My printer works some days and it doesn't others.
Yeah.
It picks its days.
You see a good HP printer.
I have a good HP printer, but it goes haywire sometimes, so.
All righty. Any other?
So we'll pick them up. We'll have them ready instead of mailing on Thursday, we'll have them ready to pick up on Monday. And I'll just say, we'll have them ready to go Monday morning. That way she'll have already printed them anyway. She works on Fridays typically, Linda does, so she can prep those and have them ready to go. So Monday morning, they're good to go. So
Could you do a favor, have her send an email saying, hey, that their packets
Yes.
are ready to be
I
picked up?
think she does send the email with the electronic version.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I can just say is, that's your reminder. I'll have her add that. If you want to pick up one, you
Yep.
can go ahead and pick those up.
So if you don't pick one up, we'll have one at the meeting.
Yeah, what I'll have her do is just prepare the packets like they normally do. And then whoever doesn't pick theirs up, we'll just bring it, and then we'll bring extra copies too, just in case.
All right. Any other questions, suggestions? All righty, so let's move to C5, receive an update on Denton Drive construction and discuss the future of our outdoor ice rink. Who's got that?
Yes, sir. I went ahead and I know Jeff Fairchild, our events manager, he's getting ready for the event this weekend, the Gateway to the Globe. So I said, yeah, I can get you all updated. He's done some research and working, and I kind of wanted just to bring everybody, because this you know, we were talking about it at the last meeting. I kind of just let everyone know kind of where we're at. So I don't know if anybody's been on Denton Drive lately. They have started putting barricades out. They're gonna, I don't know when they're gonna start breaking ground. I believe they are gonna do the west side first. And then when that's completed, and it's a pretty short run, it's basically the area in front of the DART station, kind of between the Grove. Eric, well, that street over by the Star Center. It's a pretty, yeah,
Actually, past Valley Views, portions of it are closed off, southbound.
correct, yes. And so, so that I think they're looking at construction time. It's gonna be a while. Wanted to say it was gonna go till at least the end of the year or early next year. And I know what's kind of driving this too is once that infrastructure is in, from what I understand, then that's kind of the key to start some of the apartments that are gonna be in front of the Star Center, behind the new facility, and then I guess north of the current facility. So in the area of where the current ice rink is. And so what Jeff did is reached out, he's made contact again with the Star Center to see, let them know kind of where we are. They are trying to see if it would work we did look at options moving the ice, the current ice that we own. There's a lot of infrastructure that's already in that location. They've got the power, the water, it's already graded. So knowing that the way the construction's going, it's not kind of completely shut down that road. I think we can make it happen. We still have got some things to check out, but to possibly go and have it in the current location this year. At least that's kind of what we're shooting for. And then we'll have to kind of, that buys us time to kind of figure out what we want to do from that point on. We have a lot invested in that, in the ice. So the big issue is that the Star Center has such a large, they manage it. It's managed mainly as another piece of ice for them. So all the stars, they employ, it's really it's a good situation for the city in that all we got to do is supply the ice and they take care of the rest. So, I'm not sure once the apartments go up, the new Stars facility goes up. The other issue over there of having it is that there's gonna be limited parking as well. So even if we moved it to, say, a parking lot over there, I don't think they're crazy about that because the parking is gonna be tight as it is. So one of the options he did look at was, renting a pretty much turnkey. He went and contacted, and I just put a kind of a roundabout quote, but the vendor is called Artificial Ice Events is the name of the vendor. A 60 by 100 rink, 40-day rental. So you have to not only pay for the rink rental, the ice solution, the labor. You actually have to put the staff up in hotels. There's a delivery charge. It's expensive. So that all right there is it was 137,000. That's why I put 140 in your packet. So, so it's doable. It's just, and we can pretty much put that. And so that comes with skates, perimeter fencing, and rubber flooring. And I think those are I don't know what all the power requirements and things that they'll need, but there's some logistics we could look at that. But I've seen those placed in parking lots and they could kind of turnkey those. I think I've seen those kind of run on generators and stuff as well. So, that's an option. I guess I don't know how you cool the ice. Would you have to have something to?
No,
Oh.
it's a,
Well, they may need a generator for power or something.
well, you may need a generator for lights, but if you're gonna put it somewhere, chances are there are lights there already. It's a hard plastic.
Okay.
If it's what it says it is here, because I went and pulled up a different one,
Okay.
and you can buy a 4x8 panel of this stuff for $400, and 60 by 100 is significantly bigger than what they had out
Yeah,
there.
that's a pretty big ring. That's almost like a regular.
That's a full size.
Yeah, it's a regular
device.
ring.
So that would be 190 sheets of this stuff, and this stuff runs 400. You could buy a rink for $76,000.
So what you're
But
looking
that's-
at, not ice, or is it, it's
This one in Texas on one of the reviews, he put it in his garage.
Yep.
It's a hard plastic.
Okay.
But you use regular ice skates on it. You might have to have
Oh,
it cut
okay.
differently. And then the guy in Texas actually puts, he vacuums it off, puts a tarp down and parks his car on top of it.
okay. And you don't have to, the good thing about that is you don't have to worry about weather and
It was
stuff.
amazing.
so.
It's
Yeah.
just for these people.
And Robert, do we have statistics on what we have, revenue that's been generated the past couple of years? That, well, not this year, but before, to offset.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. I'd have to get the numbers. I can do that.
No, I think this would be a very expensive option, but I also know the rink as it exists, there are a lot of people for whom that has become something to look forward to at our Christmas celebration.
Well, and
I've
that's what
had
we wanted
people
to-
from-
Yeah, that's why we wanted to keep looking at it and seeing if there's something we could do. I mean, if we can have the rink in the current location, is that at least satisfy this coming year and it gives us time?
Absolutely,
Okay. So let's keep working on it and see kind of if there's something, I mean, there'll be some challenges for sure if we put it in the same place because of the construction that'll be there, but we can work through those. I mean, I don't think it's anything we'll just have to kind of see what kind of condition the construction's at, and then we'll kind of have to go from there. So by the next meeting, if not sooner, let me get some input, see if we can, and I'll do some more digging on the Pro Glide and see if we can get we can even reach out to them, get a quote, kind of see what,
Yeah, when you saw the numbers on here, it was like, okay, how much does artificial
I
ice
wonder
cost in Texas?
if they would rent those systems, like kind of like this, where they bring it out and, I don't
He
know.
might, but then again, you don't need to, you might be able to get the stars to put it again behind them.
Yeah, okay. Look at current site,
So, I mean, it's just another option.
sure.
It's 2 doors down. It's real.
I did way too many budgets in my life. When I see a number, I have to check.
That's expensive, yeah. And I'm glad I brought up the vendor because I didn't put that name in here, and so I wanted to make sure, yeah, it's called artificial,
Multiple options on
sure,
polymer material.
okay. But the name of the stuff is Polyglide Ice?
That one, that's one
Okay.
particular where I could actually get prices. Everybody else was like, yeah, call us for a quote. It's like, no. Plus, I didn't talk to my son to see what it's like to skate on. And he probably has skated on it.
That would be a goal.
Well, that'd be cool because we could set this up anywhere. Like we could put it at the historical park where we do stuff now, and I mean, that's kind of a cool idea. So, yeah, let's do some more digging on that. And if anything, if we could get the ice where it's at this year, put this maybe in the budget.
That goes
Then we
down
could
with
do it.
rubber mallet.
Yeah, I mean, we can maybe look at
We have
that.
the boards.
Mhm. I'm even thinking on,
Barbara will get out there with her mallet. She'll put it
well,
down.
either the parking lot,
Hey,
like,
come watch me at the community garden. Left shovelfuls of compost.
well, the historical park, if we had the event, because we're planning on having the Christmas event out there again. We can maybe set this up like in the small parking lot or even on the pathway, kind of have an area where people could come, so.
And
Yeah.
obviously not the 60 by 100. That's-
No, we would, yeah. We'd see I don't know what that size is.
200 is a standard.
Okay,
Well, that's a good there.
because I think the start,
I've used it before.
Hmm?
I set it up, I think the city of Frisco set it up in that like town square area before.
this material, but okay. Well, maybe we'll
Yeah,
reach
you
out to
have
some other
consider
cities
the
too.
fact that it needs to be completely level, because any kind of deviation, you have to basically like just big sheet of plywood.
Oh, I
Any
see.
Deviation is gonna cause,
Gotcha.
So you gotta have a really firm foundation.
yeah, or you're gonna have to put down like some sand and level it underneath it.
You could pull the traffic off a tennis court for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to make it a part of the Christmas event,
Mhm.
Yeah.
um,
Yes, yeah.
which we kind of have that'd be cool. But it'd be one of those things where if we wanted to keep it out all the time, like the current rink is, we'd have to look at locations that would be a little bit different.
Well, the current real ice rink, we had issues when we had warm Decembers, or especially warm sunny Decembers, where we're skating on about this much ice and this much water.
Okay, leave a rooster tail in. All right,
I
any other
appreciate it.
input or suggestions?
We'll get a report back
All
for next
right,
meeting.
we'll make sure I get put on next month's agenda. All righty, C6, receive Parks and Rec Department update.
Right, we have quite a few updates. First on the nature preserve, and I didn't get with the staff, I don't know, we might have to see if Mark's got any updates, but I know staff is trying to find, getting a vendor to put the restroom out there. Mark, do you have any updates on
Got a vendor, everything's set to go, it's just waiting on TQCE.
TCEQ?
TCE.
I got it.
We've gone back and forth with Dallas County. This has been one of those deals where it's been a government back and forth with one another. And Texas stepped in, they're supposed to be handling it. Problem is once they stepped in, none of the paperwork matched. Because the business we were using sold. So they've got all that paperwork taken care of, and now we're back to moving through. But now Dallas County has decided they want to be involved after saying they didn't want to have anything to do. So it's slowed it back down to where they're trying to figure out the lay of it to be able to do the second.
Any questions on that one? I appreciate Mark being here because that's a lot of good information.
Yeah,
It's a lot more than that.
going back from scratch.
I might let him pop up on this one too, but at least on Hoya, kind of let you guys know where we're at. So we did close for a week to get some repairs done. We are open back. We are, right now we're opening at 9 daily and closing at 10, trying to staff it about 5. And Jess has taken that project on and gotten it all staffed out. It's kind of a moving target. We're kind of seeing usage and, you know, like today with the rain, for example, we pulled staff off, we left it open. We'll go close it. We are closing it every night and locking that fence. So we have temporary fence still up. We are, looking at, some permanent fencing out there. We're also looking at, permanent security cameras out there. So there'll be more work done. We're still working with Compan, the playground manufacturer and the installer there's still issues out there. For example, the zip line, we have 2 zip lines that were part of the park. They're both down right now. Just abuse. One of the springs was broken. We also are having some challenges with that ride in particular to make sure it's as safe as it can be. We're kind of challenging Compan a little bit to come up with some solutions. It's a unique structure. It's the only one in the country. So we're kind of facing challenges no one has faced yet. So, it's, you know, not really knowing that we needed to staff it as a challenge and that we needed to have that level of maintenance. So, all the team has stepped up, management is supportive, council supportive of trying to make sure it works. And the goal, just so you all know, even from the management level and council, we're sure we want citizens to be able to use it. That's the goal. But we want them to use it safely. And the challenges initially were, it was so crowded, no one could enjoy the experience. It was you know, it was kind of chaotic. So we think now managing the numbers that are coming in and out of that fenced area, it's definitely a better experience for the kids using it. And that's it makes it worth it at that point, because I mean, no one was enjoying it. The park was getting, you know, damaged and we were just having some issues. So hopefully we're trying to keep all our updates on that playathoya.com. That's kind of the website that we use for all the updates. We've kind of, it was a site we used when we were doing a lot of construction. We've kind of converted it over to more of a site people can get information now. And we try to put updates out there, like when we, have things that are down or maintenance issues. So that going forward, that's kind of what, if you have people ask you, hey, if just tell them play@hoya.com, that gets them kind of the newest information that we have. I know there's a link to the city site too, but sometimes it's just easier to go directly to that site. So,
Robert?
Yes.
I'll tell you, I was in an airport thousands of miles from here a week ago, and a couple with a 5 to 6 year old said something about, where do you live? Where do you live in Dallas? I said, well, Farmers Branch, actually. You have that phenomenal park. And that little boy turned around and the mother said, you know that park that has all those lights? And he goes, that's the best park I've ever seen. He was thrilled. So news travels around the world.
yes.
And I would like to add, Robert, first, I appreciate the email that you sent out when it's getting closed and everything. What I'm finding out at different, functions or whatever is how much misinformation there is out there. This thing has grown legs, and people don't even realize that used to be a park forever. It's not like a new park that was just built, And so there's so much misinformation out there that, and I'm glad for the link here, so that as we are out, we can, at least people have the correct information and not dealing off of some rumor they heard off of the social media or whatever type of thing. So.
Good, thank you. Anybody have any other questions on that?
So y'all are still looking at temporary or permanent fencing though? Cause right now you went from construction to pretty to now it looks construction and an eyesore.
Yeah,
It's
so
an eyesore again.
we'd like to put we're looking at a wrought iron fence around it and probably a 6 foot, mainly to keep it secured. Cause and we would, to be honest, Mark and I have had this discussion. I'd prefer smaller, a 4 foot, just to be able to secure people inside the park. That was one of the issues initially we opened is, parents, with kids running around, they wanted to be able to kind of corral the kids. This will not only do that, but the intent is to also keep, when we lock it up at night, you don't have, people just jumping a 4 foot fence to get into the playground. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're probably gonna just focus on the playground area at the, in general, similar to what the pattern is now. And then secure it when we're not using it, like I said, after we close. So that way, we don't have issues, because public safety was going out there after 10 o'clock from basically when we opened to the end of January until we closed it, they were out there every day. Some kind of call. So we had people staying up in the sphere and, all that stuff. So, and, playgrounds have that anyway. This one just kind of attracts, especially beyond that corner, and there's just a lot of challenges for it to be right there.
And then were there instructions about the zip line, weight limits or anything? Cause there's a lot of adults who go out there.
Well, we did find out that it can accommodate up to 250-pound adults, but there's just challenges. So it doesn't really have a system on it to slow the user down. It just gets you to the end. It's all gravity fed based on the height and it's very tall and it's a long run. It's got all these things that for a thrill seeker is great, but like some of the challenges, like a lot of little kids would stand up on, there's a small seat there's a rope with a small seat. You'd have small kids and even adults standing on that. So, then they'd get to the end, it's basically, you're hitting it and coming back. And if they weren't holding on right, and it's just, so, but we've put that back to the vendor. I mean, you guys built this for us. What's the better way to do? Is there a better way to do it? Can we do it better? We internally have talked about, should we make it where there's seats? Maybe you're in the seat instead of just holding on, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know, but those are things we put back to them, to kind of help us with this. So.
Haven't they done the zip line before in other places?
I think so. I mean, yeah, there's been, yes, I'll mark through to that one.
There have been plenty of them that they've made. One of the things that I noticed is you literally can take your hand with the zip line and hit it, and the spring totally compresses. There's no tension on the spring like it needs to be stretched out,
Mhm.
doubled up. I went around to a couple of the parks in some different cities just to see different vendor styles, because it really bothered us that this is the way it's hitting. You look at one manufacturer's and they got a bar right in the middle of it where the zip line goes, so it's a tripod. But the tripod is right there. But they got awesome springs on it. So we have suggested to them multiple different things. There's new springs that are coming. We talked about possibly doing pads or a landing pad, but we don't want to alter anything that they have put in right now because
Oh,
it's
no.
under warranty.
Mhm.
So I've got one that we're gonna go look at, next week over in, I believe it's Rowlett. It's supposed to be the same style, but it doesn't go as fast. So I don't know if somehow they have tension wheels on their type of contraption to see where it doesn't go as fast. I've been to some other ones that it really doesn't have anything. The kids gotta sit here and jump up and down, so it's not really a zip line. They're just bouncing up and down, thinking they go on the zip line. Then I've seen others that they're just as steep, they're just as fast, but they have more springs on it to help dampen. They have like 3 different springs to help dampen that, to slow it down. So Compan needs to work on their part. I've had some very choice words with them when I ran into them at a convention because it was just email chatter. And I'm a face-to-face kind of person. And that following week, they had 5 representatives out so we could start discussing some of the things they need to fix. They've steadily been working on it. It's short getting the materials here, or slow time getting here because it's coming from overseas. So that's one of the issues we're gonna run into.
I think you just have to tell them this is gonna make or break your sales in the US.
Has anybody actually gotten hurt
Yes,
riding it?
We've had some,
an adult
sure.
busted open.
A lot.
Grand opening day, a lady was standing on it, and I guess broke down, from what I understand from some employees at the
Yeah.
R.
Someone like took it right.
Yes, yeah, there's been a gentleman that decided, grown adult, that he was gonna show the kids how to ride it, and the whole way down, he bounced up and down while he was standing on it. It's kind of humorous, because he made air, didn't hang on, and knocked the breath out of it. But there's potential there for people to get hurt, that's why it's not up right now. We decided to take it all down and wait till Compan can come up with a better solution.
I've got a question that's kind of a little bit different. We've got softball and baseball season coming up, youth softball, baseball. So Orin Good Parks and the Pepper Parks. Is there gonna be special parking for Hoya people, or is everybody just gonna be fighting for parking spaces in that parking spot?
It's shared, yeah, it's shared parking. I mean, the reason that's one of the reasons that I think that location was chosen is because it already has parking. So we didn't have to build parking. So, yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, you can park in the neighborhood. We've done some areas along Townfield where we don't want people parking, especially because initially people are having a hard time getting out of their alley, especially if they live along Rawhide and Golfing Green. So I think that's helped. I think some of the things we've initiated in regards to how we've got some of the no parking around it now has helped.
Yeah, parking has been tremendously different since we reopened spring break. You don't notice almost any cars parking in the neighborhood area. There's no cars, probably except for my black car when I'm coming to check on staff, parking along, what is that? The street called Tom Field. As far as athletic goes, previously I oversaw our athletics division, and it kind of ironically will work out because on Saturdays when we have baseball and softball going on at Orin Good, they start first thing early in the morning, and then they start clearing out about 11. And so that's what we've been seeing, is that's when the park starts ramping up for you. So I'm thinking they're going to miss each other. And then with school being back in session, with spring break, it was packed. We had about 200 to 400 in the park and about 500 to 700 non-residents in line. But with school going back this week, we have seen it really slow. sometimes 6 p.m., 7 p.m. when it starts to glow, there's no more than 80 people in the park total. And then like for the day, you'll see 200 people is what we see for the entire day. So I think that will help when we have night games out at Oregon Good, baseball and softball. I think there'll still be opportunity for the parents and spectators to be able to come and enjoy the kids' games. And then, of course, in the summertime, when no one's in school and it's really busy, our leagues don't operate in the summer, so they don't start back until September. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping it's kind of like aquatics where you have, like your prime time, then your off-season time. But I really think that the parking is going to work out. We also have overflow parking over at Pepper, which is across Dennis. And then we have additional parking over like towards Gussie and the Rose Gardens as well. And then people can cross over. We have seen that in the daytime, not so much, but like the COPs have been doing a great job with redirecting traffic as well. And so traffic overall, I live in that same area. I live off of Dennis Lane, and traffic overall has definitely improved. Pedestrians walking along the streets has definitely improved as well. They're using crosswalks and sidewalks, which was super important to our department and PD. And then, yeah, I think everything, and then ever since we took down the second zip line, our first responders have been super thankful that we did that because they were getting called out constantly. So everything since we reopened in spring break and made some modifications, and we're gonna continue to make modifications to make it enjoyable for the residents. Everything's really been working out great. The staff is out there. We have like our youth program staff, we have aquatic staff, just special event staff, different staff out there monitoring, talking with the people, finding out where people are coming in from. You do have non-residents a little upset that they have to wait in line, but the residents that are like, oh, I'm a resident, they just get to skip this long line. And so, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, and they're super happy. They don't have to wait in line, and I make sure that the team is making it very, very clear. If you're a resident, skip the line, like just come in. And so that's been super, super helpful as well. Yeah.
Because that is one of the biggest complaints that I've received is that, our Farmers Branch residents, we got to wait in line for an hour to get into a Farmers Branch park.
No.
And,
That is by far,
but see, there again, that gets back to the
Yes.
misinformation.
Yeah.
That
We allow-
people just saying things, yeah.
we stopped letting non-residents in that 200. And we'll continue to let our residents come in. Believe it or not, the maximum capacity for that playground, when you break everything down per device or piece of equipment, is 209 people. So by us putting a temporary fence up where the way we put it up, it kind of limits the space. We were looking at doing fencing the whole area all the way around the perimeter, but we're trying to minimize the amount of people to try to make it so it's not so much wear and tear on the playground equipment. So we've also been asked to make the green space a little bit bigger, but we think we have some ways to do it a little bit better to still keep the amount of people, and I hate saying off the equipment, but where it's not 300, 400, 500, and at times 700 people trying to be in that little area, and adults using kids' toys.
Yeah.
So we do have some big children, and in a 2 and 5-year-old, the top lot area, trying to use some of their stuff, and the kids that are not the right age, just educating, and that's what everybody's been doing, that's been working out there. Excuse me, how old are you? Well, you need to be playing over here, or it's not for you. So, and it's sad that you have to do that. It's just, we've got to do whatever we can do to slow down the wear and tear on the equipment.
And the amount of lost kids, I know there was a lot of chatter at first, like so many lost kids, and parents, it's completely just like died down. People are able to locate their kids, and they're able to locate them even in the sphere to know, oh, they were supposed to go down this slide, they went down this slide. And so it's super helpful. I know it can get frustrating at times, especially for the non-residents, but it's super helpful to limit the amount of people in there. And there's still picnic space where people are coming in bringing pizza and stuff like that. And so it's really been really nice to see as employees, and there's a handful of employees where we have a camera. I literally watch it 24/7, even all day like today where it's rain. And I enjoy seeing what I'm hoping our residents, even during the daytime, being able to enjoy all the pieces, and there's no one waiting in line, they're able to come, they're able to go, and so pick up Big Brother from school, come after school, and there's still so much space to play because no one's coming out right now. They're all back in school. There's parents working, they can't come till the evenings, and even the evenings it's still very slow.
Yeah, y'all just did too good a job letting everybody know it was coming.
Yeah.
That's part of the grants, like that's part of the there's some stipulations that we had to advertise because of these, grants and stuff, so.
All right. What was the next one? The venue?
Yeah, one more thing, the sign also got done at Hoya. So I don't know if anyone's been out there, but it's lit up. So it finally got done that week of I guess the 8th and 9th, they were able to come out and get that down. So check that one off the list. Venue 1842, we're out there today and they're moving. They're prepping this weekend. If you guys go out to the Gateway to the Globe, we're just gonna have it fenced off, the construction area. Still, you'll see a lot of things out, they've still got construction equipment and things out there. But it's moving. We had another update meeting today. Their target is, at least 2 to 3 more weeks, if not, a little more than that. So, it's probably a good thing we moved the boards and commissions dinner. But we're still looking at, we have a May 4th event that we're looking to do. So not sure. I think the only thing we'll really lack would probably be some of the outside landscape, just because of how the contractor's moving out and how they'll have their equipment moved out. So the goal would be for that event, at least to kind of get some of that landscape around the entrance kind of done, or at least to a doneness, and then we'll address the others as kind of, so I would full expect by the time maybe we have 4th of July event, the exterior to have probably caught up with the interior, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
And those of you that are from Farmers Branch, it's the 50th, our Alternatives 50th high school graduation reunion is our first event.
Huh.
May 4th.
The dedication, do we have any updates on that?
No, we got council asking as well. I think we're just hesitant to put a date on it yet, just because we don't know. Yeah, we don't want to push the envelope. Exactly. The big hang up right now that we think we're waiting on, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, is, so there's these walls called nano walls, and that's basically, I don't have a picture, but basically we have a big patio. I don't know if all of you remember how it looked. So these walls actually open up. So when we have nice weather, you can open up the walls and you basically have an outside space with your inside space. Well, those walls are made in California. They're special order item. And that whole side of that building, there's 3 of these. So we got to have them. And they're back, they're working on them, and we don't expect to even receive those until I think another week or so. So that's the challenge right now. We think we'll be pretty much a lot of the interior done except for that. So, and then on Branch Connection, we had a nice tour with the senior advisory board. They, were able to kind of walk through the spaces. They're moving really fast. This vendor is doing a really good job. They've got a lot of walls down. They're very efficient. They've got a good crew out there. So, I would just say, they've got an end of August target date to be done. If the bond passes, that changes, of course. And so we'll probably get the board updated once, after the May 4th election. If we get the bond, about what that does to the time frame. We'll also have to figure out if, when we plan on selling bonds and things like that. If it doesn't pass, then we're probably looking end of August. So probably move in, I'd anticipate sometime September, early October, by the time we get back in there and get settled again. So I will say we are working with some local churches to try and move some programming, because we'll have challenges in this facility because of summer sunshine. So we're looking at options to kind of put some of the programming from here to another site in the city. So we'll keep keep everybody posted on that.
When does summer sunshine begin?
The last week of May. It starts the next day that CFDIC releases.
Right after school.
So right after Memorial Day, that week. Okay.
Yeah. We usually will come, like, start on Friday, be off that Monday, and then come back Tuesday.
To the fun.
So the two park projects we have going, we've got Mercer Park, the developer is still working to get their items completed. We're also reviewing, checking with vendors on trying to get, a vendor and design team in place to do the construction docs for the city portion of that park. And so we should hopefully have that here pretty soon. And we're definitely focusing on that first phase, which would be, and I need to bring those plans back out. Maybe I'll look at bringing some plans, kind of get everybody up to date on those, the next meeting. But I think the first phase had the pickleball courts. I don't know if a lot of you remember seeing that there was a tennis court pickleball in the first phase. Second phase is where the playground, there was a playground. The trail, the developer's putting all the trail in. And they're gonna put some trees, but the city has to irrigate it. So there's gonna be, a little bit of gap in when trees get planted out there and turf, because we gotta get the irrigation completed. So, we're having meetings now with the developer weekly, getting check-ins. So, we also got the attorneys on, because we technically don't own the property yet. So the way the development agreement is set up is there's a process for them to get the improvements done and then convey the property over to the city. So we're working with the attorneys on trying to get all that to happen too. And then on Squire Park, nothing really new. We've got to so all we have is conceptual drawings. We don't have a final construction document yet to be able to like go out to bid or anything. So we've got to get a vendor in here to kind of finish those docs. So we're working on securing a vendor right now for that. I'll answer any questions anybody has.
So Squire Park, just to be clear, originally you talked about that being part of the bond package, but now it's not.
Correct.
But, so what are we gonna do to Squire Park that are we gonna do the same thing we're gonna do with that was in the bond package, or help me understand?
So there's already funding there's a capital improvement funding already in the budget.
Yeah.
They put an amount of 200,000 this budget year and 800,000 the next budget year.
Yeah.
And so we'll use the funding that's in this budget year to get the design work done, and then probably roll over some of that funding to next year, combine it all. So we'll hopefully, have a budget in that. And by the time we're hoping the design will be in that, I don't know, $75,000, $100,000 range. And then we're trying to get as much as we can, putting dollars toward actual construction. So my hope is to get it in that, between 850, 900,000 toward construction. So,
Any of y'all see the conceptual drawings or the plans of that before?
With the water splash park?
Yeah, we've seen it once, but a lot of people probably don't remember. It's.
yeah, we'll look at
It's
bringing those
been
back.
a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Then it changed again. One of the things that we've all kind of discussed, there was a whole lot of money being used in that project that could be more benefited for the actual playground equipment stuff, where there was a lot of extra stuff that really wasn't necessary per se for a park, like shade structures that didn't work for anybody.
I don't remember.
There was a big, huge art piece that goes way up in the air. It was not very good for that area, I guess you could say. So we're trying to redesign it to make it a lot more friendlier for the neighborhood.
I said this last meeting, and I'll say it again, this meeting for Squire Park. You gotta get some off-street parking somewhere.
Yes, and that is one of the things that is good about the old plans. It did have a small parking spot, or few parking spaces off the street that was more of the northeast side of the park.
We'll keep you all posted on any updates.
I guess this wasn't in there, but what about the park that caught fire? What's been happening
It's a
with
good
that?
question. We actually just heard back from our insurance. So we're meeting an adjuster to try to get that figured out and get that, so we can get a settlement, so we can start, get that ordered and replaced. So we are moving on that.
Which park was that again?
Dutch Village.
Oh, that's right.
Are you replacing with the same concept?
I don't know if we'll have the same,
More than likely, we probably will not put that playground back where it is at the moment. We probably will, we're either gonna build that area up, we'll move it where the basketball court is and swap some things around.
Mhm.
It's got very bad drainage in that area. When it rains, the water rushes across it, it washes all the fire and bar out, just creates a nightmare and added expense. I prefer to raise that area at least a foot and then start over from scratch, or the basketball court needs to be replaced. So maybe we can swap them and still build an area up to make it where it's more adequate.
Is that a man-made event?
I'm sorry,
Is that a man-made event? Because there was all sorts of rumors swirling around about that.
a man-made fire,
Yeah,
someone got it on fire.
yeah.
Whether that was a cigarette or
Yeah.
actually lit on.
Honestly, I've never seen a fire get that hot around the playground equipment. It's kind of hard to say because 5 bars damp underneath, except on the top just a little bit. Well, whoever it was, they believe was under the rock climber and it's plastic. So whatever they call fire heated it up so bad that it totally melted the 4-inch poles. It melted everything. So at least
Like
a
this hits,
quarter of it got burnt, and then another quarter of it from the heat. It's all gotta go. So I mean, we could come back and we could take down half the playground and temporarily fix it for now. And that is an option we're looking into, but it's gonna leave one big bare area and it's still a nightmare for that flooding area.
all right, any more input on the departmental update? Any questions? All right, let's move on to C7, receive an update from board members on parks, programs, events, or facilities attended in the City of Farmers Branch. Any boys or?
I have something from an anonymous runner who is actually my daughter.
Very anonymous. It's anonymous to forget.
About all the trees that are coming down on Rawhide, on the Rawhide Parkway. It's just, she's dreading summer because she's looking at all the trees that are coming down and it's gonna be hotter than heck. So is there a plan to get some replacements out there?
Yes.
But they're not gonna be anywhere near what we're taking down.
The ones that came down, I believe you're referring to probably right there between Josie Lane and Longmead on Rawhide side. There were some elm trees that had borers and the summer sun got them really bad.
Okay,
And they were sparse at best,
okay.
as far as with the foliage, a whole lot of dead in them. We are looking at, as we take them out, we're trying to put more, but we're trying to get better varieties that do good than a little more drought or weather. Our budget, as far as water budget, we have a certain amount. And it's gotta go for the whole city.
Mhm.
And Rawhide is one of the ones, unfortunately, we planted tree after tree after tree with Tree City USA. But gotta get more water and money in the budget for water.
Mhm.
Because one year we do real good and then we're right back. We did pretty good this year up until it just went to triple digits very quick and we got behind the curve a little bit. And we needed to be watered. But Rawhide normally gets about once or twice a week, where some of the other more landscaped areas gets at least 3 times. But we have to try to spread it out across the city. So,
And they reallocated the money for the
I'm sorry.
fire park and everything on the bond package to the water facilities. Is that for updates?
that is for the money that money that was for, I guess, Squire, all that went to more of the infrastructure, water pipes.
Yeah, to distribution to the house, not necessarily irrigation.
No, not the irrigation at all. We're pretty much just like a homeowner. We have a meter and that's what runs to our irrigation system. And there was I was at that neighborhood meeting. There was a lot of questions and concerns that we were gonna spend this on parks. And it's, I guess, misinformation. We're never gonna get caught up on our infrastructure. There's 60 miles of pipe that still need to be done and we could get there, but by the time we get there, we're gonna be starting on the other part of it, redoing the other stuff. The pipe has a life expectancy, unfortunately. So.
All right.
Mhm.
So our last item, discuss potential agenda items for future meetings. So I guess the ice arena should be one of the items. Guys have other items to bring up?
It'd be nice to hear about the updates about the fire insurance,
Oh,
the village
yeah.
park.
Fire insurance, okay,
Yeah.
on the park, all right. Anything else?
Well, another update on Hoya, sounds like Hoya's kind of a,
Ongoing thing?
You'd like to-
All right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What about Denton Drive?
Okay.
No new items, just a lot of updates on stuff, current stuff.
I still would like to have a list of people and their titles and everything. We've shuffled in the last year. We've shuffled so much, I don't know who's in charge of what.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you
Yeah.
an org chart.
Yeah,
I had a,
that would be nice. There's been a lot of turnover in the last 6
Yes.
months.
and I do want to commend the people that maintain the parks. I had a friend whose house backs up to Temperton Trails and there was a tree down for about a month and they had digitally entered, to have it fixed or whatever. And I finally, she told me about it, or I saw it when I was at her house. And so I talked to Maria and said, okay, who do I talk to? And so she gave me a number and I called and it got done right away. But, and I wanted to come in then for, once I brought it to their attention, they got to it right away. And then also the park, I believe it's called Creekside, that's on Webb Chapel. There's a tree down and they took care of it pretty quick. So I was pleased to see that they're staying on top of things.
Creek Ridge.
Okay.
I was down there myself, I'm sorry.
Is it Creek Ridge?
Creek Ridge, yes, ma'am.
I couldn't remember if it's Creek Ridge or Creekside or whatever. I face it every time I go.
I get it confused sometimes because we got Wood Creek and we've got Creek Ridge, so.
Oh, okay.
Wood Creek's on Marshland and Creek Ridge is on.
Yeah, they took care of it. I saw it, the tree down a couple days ago and I was like, oh, I wonder. And so I was gonna say something tonight and it was already taken care of, so.
Any other agenda items? Anybody? So do I hear a motion that we adjourn? Jan, second?
Second.
Jennifer? All those in favor say aye.
I,
All right, done.
Everybody come out the gateway if you can this weekend.